The journey is conversations with ordinary people about stories of transformation and how we may have had setbacks in our life and how we persevered through those, how we've learned from those obstacles, and how they've maybe helped us on our path today.
Welcome to the journey. My name is Kevin Polkey, and I am the host of the journey. And today we are going to do a reflection. And it's been a few weeks since we've had an opportunity to do a reflection with some awesome guests that we've had on the last few weeks. This reflection is really based on a couple observations, um, a couple things that I've been thinking about over the last month or so. Um, as many of you know, uh, last year I uh, made the decision to leave KP Counseling after founding it in 2001 and selling in 2015. And we went through a handful of different changes. As that company was the founding company that later was Crestview, and then we sold Crestview to become Refresh Mental Health. And 3 years ago, Refresh Mental Health was purchased by Optum Healthcare. And I served as the executive director of over Wisconsin with 17 locations up there and 11 Illinois locations. With a strong desire to get back and doing direct work and clinical work, I made the hard decision of leaving KP in April of 24 and working full time at Four Corners Wellness Center and Shatter Our Silence, my suicide prevention nonprofit. Four Corners originally started in 2010 as a wellness center that was KP was part of that. And now we focus on wellness in the areas of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. We offer counseling services as well as consulting services, variety of different coaching services and workshops and seminars. Recently, I was at our church, and our pastor, Pastor Dan Hines, was talking about spiritual formation. And he challenged us with this idea that we all are being formed spiritually. We're either being formed spiritually by default, not being intentional about what is that mental model that we are utilizing. So then we may be influenced by social media or influencers or media or family of origin or the individuals that we spend time with or where we may work. That the individuals and what we expose ourselves to and what we are exposed to are going to shape us regarding our morals and our values and our beliefs. And that is what he is referring to from a spiritual standpoint. But if we choose to intentionally have a mental model of how we want to form spiritually, then that also will then play into how we develop and grow. And for me, as someone who not only believes in the Christian Christ story, but has committed my from an early time period in my life, committed to using Jesus as a model in which to form me um, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and even the actions that I attempt to do as well. That's kind of the foundation of how this month began. And then just recently, we were with some friends of ours. They had three children, three young adult children. Their youngest is out east in playing for a Division I school out east, playing hockey out there, and we were having some conversations. We actually got a chance to watch him play, and they are now in the lead of their conference, which will potentially, if they continue to keep that lead, they will into the national Division I tournament. But as she was talking, because of his rigorous Division I sports schedule, he doesn't get a lot of opportunities to come home. They talk on a regular basis, and they're able to connect that way virtually, and also through phone, but they're not able to be in person. And she talked about this idea of that she has a devotional that she has been utilizing and that she gave her son, that her and her son, as well as her daughters now and her husband, read this devotional, and then they have something to also talk about. The night before, I was telling her about the new project I'm doing with Four Corners and what it stood for. And the next morning, we were got together for brunch, and she mentioned, "Hey, I need to tell you about what our morning devotional was and how it played into what you were talking about with your wellness center." So let me read this devotional. This devotional is actually written um, by a former professional football player, Super Bowl champion coach, Tom Dungy. Some of a little bit story about Tom's background. Mr. Coach Dungy's background is not only is a Christian and a leader and a former football player and coach, but unfortunately his son struggled with mental health issues and took his life as a result of suicide and depression. A little bit of backstory with that. So let me read you February 1st entry into his devotional that our friends read to us, read to me and handed it over to me. It's called the Four-Way Growth Plan. It becomes too easy to say at times and a bit glib, insincere sounding, football is more than a game. It's about life. Well, a friend of mine means it. His team has it, and their individual lives after football prove to be true. At Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, head football coach Danny Rocco took over a program that was 1-10, and in 5 years brought the Liberty Flames football fortunes to a consistent level of championship caliber. After taking over in December of 2005, he led the team to four Big South Conference championships. In 2007, the first in school history, 2008, 2009, 2010, was selected as Conference Coach of the Year 3 times and was nominated for the Eddie Robinson and Liberty Mutual National Coach of the Year awards on 3 different occasions. He did it with a relentless attacking offense that mixed a power running game and play action, and a deep passing game that stretched the field, and a defense designed to play fast, smart, and aggressive. But more than that, Coach Rocco accomplished it by recruiting and developing character, and by relying on the domination and direction of God's word, particularly the teaching in Luke 2:52. Danny believed that part of his responsibility to the university, to his players and staff, and to the community the players served then, and the only one and the one they would serve when they graduated, was to grow his players and staff in a number of different ways. Intellectually, Jesus grew in wisdom; physically, in stature; spiritually, in favor with God; and relationally, and all the people. Coach Rocco called it whole person development and believed the person who embodied it, Jesus Christ, is an unmatched role model for him and his team to emulate. And the bonus for them was winning a lot of football games. Luke 2:52. Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature, in favor with God and all the people. When I think of that, then I appreciated her sharing not only her story of a way for her to connect with her son on another level and maybe plant some seeds of encouragement and possibility and hope from an emotional standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, and from a loving standpoint. But then also these words that validated and confirmed the direction that we are going in at Four Corners of how to look at the person from the whole perspective of growing individuals and developing individuals physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That for me, inviting individuals to be intentional about who are they going to use as a mental model to form themselves spiritually, and then how would they interact with other individuals, how to help use that mental model to frame how they're thinking, and that when times become dark, because they will, how do we have hope that there's still light within that darkness? And then when they are good, that we humbly savor those moments and are able to share those moments with others. So I appreciate our conversation over the weekend and how that confirmed and validated some of the things that we are doing, and that was why I wanted to share this reflection with you. As always, I appreciate you being here and look forward to being with you next week.